The Wright brothers thought they were inventing the airplane, but an ancient Hindu sage beat them 7,000 years ago, and his planes could move in any direction and travel from planet to planet. Proof? Vedas. These are all texts that mention them. Captain Anand J. Bodas, the retired principal of a pilot training facility, told the Indian Science Congress in January 2015. He also said that Maharishi Bharadwaj spoke about the existence of airplanes that could travel from country to country, from continent to another continent, and from one planet to another planet. He mentioned 96 reference books in aviation. Well, unbelievable, right? But here is another fact. Indians actually invented plane even before Wright brothers, but back then, India was under British control. And the man who invented the first airplane, he was brutally beaten and insulted by British generals. Are you curious to know what happened to that man? And what are these Vimanas? And how do they fly? Hello and welcome to Patasala. So let's start with the first man who invented the plane. A boy with an extraordinary vision was born in a Patare Pradho family in South Bombay. His name was Shivkar Bapuji Talpade. Talpade had immense knowledge of Sanskrit, and he was fascinated by Indian books on aeronautics. Since his childhood, Talpade was dreaming about flying and exploring space. Driven by his passion, Talpade began looking for mentions of flying in the Vedas. One day, Talpade met Pandit Subbaraya Shastri, the author of Vaimanika Shastra. Shastri learned the art of plane making from an ascetic in Kolar, Karnataka. He requested a trainee engineer, T.K. Ellappa, to make drawings of it. He also hired a local priest, G.V. Sharma, to write instructions in a manuscript. Shastri gave Talpade scriptures for making an aircraft, and he told him that they were the teachings from the Bharadwaja sage. Talpade built his flight in 1895. He named it Marutsak. It's a portmanteau of two words, Marut, which means a stream of air, and Sakha, which means a friend. Talpade named his aircraft after the goddess of knowledge, Saraswati, mentioned in the Rig Veda. Unmanned and heavier than the air, Marutsak flew 1,500 feet above Bombay's Chowpatty. It reached the modest height before colliding to the ground. The aircraft was a bamboo cylinder fueled by a mercury ion engine. It remained in the air for 18 minutes before the Naksharasa accumulators ran out of the power. Then, Maharaja of Baroda, H. Sayajirao Gaikwad, and eminent Indian judge Mahadeva Govindranade are said to have witnessed this flight. According to PTSD Satwalekar, a pupil of Talpade's Marutsak could sustain the flight for a short period. An editorial on the aircraft was also published in the Marathi newspaper Kesari by Bal Garnidar Tilak, a prominent freedom fighter. Two more English newspapers published terse accounts of it. On the day of the flight of Marutsak, Talpade's techno-savvy wife, Lakshmi Bai, was by his side. Lakshmi Bai was a Vedic scholar, and she had immense knowledge on architecture. Whether or not Shivkar Talpade was the first man to make a flight an aircraft continues to be debated. However, many pieces of literature claim that the Mercury was the first cylindrical bamboo plane fueled by liquid mercury. Hydrogen was released from the mercury when it interacted with the sunlight. And since hydrogen is lighter than the air, the plane flew. However, the aircraft didn't ascend very high, or linger too long in the air, but Talpade was successful in making and flying the unmanned aircraft centuries before the Wright brothers, apparently due to censorship of the British Raj. The success story never left Indian shores. Till date, no written evidence of either the drawings, the flight, or anything connected to it are available to confirm these events. So, what are these Vimanas? Vimanas are mythological flying palaces or chariots. They were described in Hindu text or Sanskrit scenes. The Pushpaka Vimana of Ramana is the most quoted example of Vimana. Vimanas are also mentioned in Jain texts. The Rig Veda, the oldest document of the human race, includes references to the following modes of transportation. Jalayan, a vehicle designed to operate in water and air. Kara, a vehicle that operates on ground and in water. Tritala, a vehicle consisting of 3 stores. Trichakra Ratha, a 3-wheeled vehicle designed to operate in the air. Vayu Ratha, a gas or wind-powered chariot. Vidyut Ratha, a vehicle that operates on power. The Arthasatra of Kautilya mentions amongst various tradesmen and technocrats, the Saupikas are pilot-conducting vehicles in the sky. Sabha was the name of the flying city, the city of King Harishandra. It's the city of the King Harishandra, and the Saupika means one who flies in the air or knows how to operate in the aerial city. Kautilya uses another significant word, Akasa Yodhina, which is translated as people who are trained to fight in the air. The existence of aerial chariots, in whatever form it might be, was so well known that it found its place among edicts of the Emperor Asoka, which were executed during his reign. The Vaimanika Shastra refers to about 97 works and authorities of yore, of which at least 20 works deal with the mechanism of the flying machine. But none of these works are now traceable. The Yukti Kalpatara of Boja includes a reference to the cars in the verses 48-50 and the manuscript of the work belonging to Calcutta Sanskrit College. Vaimanika Shastra was translated in 20th century. It covers the definitions of planes, pilot and aerial routes, and the planes are described in a great detail. A book by David Hatchett Childress, called Vimanas Aircraft of Ancient India and Atlantis, covered the secrets of constructing airplanes that will not break. They will not catch fire and they cannot be destroyed. There you also find the secret of making planes motionless, hovering, of making them invisible, stealth, the secret of retrieving photos of the interior of enemy's planes, intelligence, a secret of ascertaining the enemy's plane's approach, radar, a secret of making people in the enemy's plane lose consciousness, and the secret of destroying enemy's planes. So, how do they fly? According to Kanjilal, the propulsion of the Vimanas were by mercury vortex engines. Apparently, it's a concept close to electrical propulsion. Childress also finds the evidence of mercury vortex in the Samaragana Sudratara. It is an 11th century treatise on architecture. The texts there, they say that Vimanas are powered by some jet engines. It seems to be true from the description of the flight behavior. Elephants ran away in panic. The grass was thrown out because of a lot of pressure behind those Vimanas. The Vaimanika Shastra refers to metals used in these aircrafts. There is a mention of electricity and power resources, of the pilots and their flying clothing, and about the food that they eat. It even talks about the weapons that were stored in these aircrafts. And the flight manuals in the Vimanas are quite similar to the flight manuals you can find in the military and passenger flights right now. It suggests that Vimanas were powered by several gyroscopes. One of the texts talk about the mercury, which drives or rotates a sort of a powerful propeller. Here are references to the flying machines in the temple carvings and the ancient scripts. Most ancient Sanskrit manuscript was translated in English. It is claimed that several years ago, the Chinese discovered Sanskrit in Lhasa, Tibet. They sent them to be translated. Dr. Ruth Reina, who undertook the exercise, she said recently that documents contain the directions for building interstellar spaceships. The method of propulsion was anti-gravitational, a system similar to that Lagima, the unknown power of man's ego, the centrifugal force strong enough to counter gravitation. World-know yogis, for example, they maintain Lahima. It allows them to levitate. Dr. Reina said that on board of these machines, called astras, the ancient Indians could have sent detachment of men onto another planet. Conclusion. There is a saying, the absence of the proof is not a proof of absence. The absence of the proof is not a proof of absence just because you couldn't find it. Just because you couldn't find it is not a proof that Vimanas don't exist. Indian history and civilization dates back thousands of years, and they are far more advanced than any other countries that exist now. Unfortunately, most of the Sanskrits and important Vedas were either stolen or destroyed by various intruders. However, some evidence still exists, and hopefully India will grow a lot because of them. Do you know? For the full video, check the link in the comments.